Hey everybody, Weem here. Welcome to Production Line. This is a new car factory management simulation tycoon game, as they describe it. Slashes between all of that. From Positech Games. They are the developers of Democracy and Gratuitous Space Battles and publisher of Big Pharma, which you're going to see looks kind of similar. I'm going to jump in here really quick. Just choose this medium size. Seems to be what everybody does here. We'll get this thing started up. Now, I actually have Big Pharma. I bought it a while ago and still have not played it. I've been pretty excited about trying it. I just haven't got around to it. As a fan of Factorio and things like that, I've been wanting to do that. But I saw this one recently and thought it looked pretty cool, and I would check it out and bring it to you guys. So, I'm going to quickly walk you through some things here to get you a better idea of what's going on. One thing I would say is very early access. They say the UI and everything is very rudimentary right now, which we can see it is indeed. And all of these things are going to change, but there's enough here for me to show you what's going on. So we are we're kind of building a car manufacturing plant here, as I mentioned, and we've got basically the process of building a chassis of the car all the way through paint job and everything out the other side. Now they actually list these things in order over here, which is pretty cool. The steps, essentially. You have the assembly, you'll fit the body, do the paint, fit the engine, accessories, electronics, quality check, and then export this thing out. So we can actually just click these. Right now there's things grayed out because we don't have them yet. We can't do those things yet. We don't have them researched, but we can do the basic stuff. So if we grab the chassis here, you could see that we've got this section, and we can actually rotate this around. Now the big window here, this is actually where things can be exported, and the small windows are actually where resources get brought in. If I back out, you could see we could really kind of start anywhere. We even have little windows and, the exports over here, places where there's two places to export. But everybody does seem to start here. And while I've seen some people start out in some other areas, I think we'll just stay down here. You can buy into these other areas later, but let's go ahead and jump in here. Now, of this room here, we got this room, the different tiles here. You could see the one that's to the right near the bottom. It's kind of the 4x4 grid lit up really light. Let me go ahead and let's just drop this. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to lay this out a little bit differently than I see other people do it. But let me put that down. So this platform here, this is where resources need to come in at or be dropped at. So let's go ahead and do an importer here. This actually brings the goods in through the window. You can see it kind of snaps there. So we're going to set that there. Then the conveyor is actually the line that brings the resources in. As I drag, you can see a red spot there. That's indicating that's where the resources need to go. So we could do something like this if we wanted to, or I could have dragged over the top. Cool thing is it goes right over the top of things. I can zoom in here and you'll see all of those pieces getting loaded in. The chassis already started. I'm going to go ahead and pause the game. So that's going to start building the chassis, and then it wants to continue down the belt. So let's take the next step here. We got the chassis. The conveyor is going to move the parts, so we can skip that one. Fit body, that's the next part that needs to happen. And we can see on a mouse over it says it's going to take 63.5 seconds approximately on the time fly out there. I can actually click, did not mean to click that. I can click this guy, and you can see that this step takes 25 seconds. So let's go ahead and go back out here, grab the fit body. Since this one takes so long, I'm actually going to make two of these just for fun. And I'm going to put these like, I think here, like right next to each other, something like that. So you can see the two platforms they need to have resources brought to. So I've got this guy's already being brought in, and then I've got these two. Now because I have two windows, I'm going to kind of split this. This line is going to feed these, I think, and then I'll use this line to feed some of the other stuff. You can see no route to stockpile. They basically are not getting their stuff. Let's go ahead and do the conveyor belt real quick. Try to keep this, let's see, I think this is probably fine. We're going to draw our line right up to this, and it will split. I did a little bit of experimenting, and it does, like if one is working or being worked on here, the next one that comes down will go to the other side, and they'll start to back up in here, so I think that's good. So we've got the body. Let's go with the paint now. We will do, I think we'll also do two of these. Paint is 68 seconds, so it takes a while. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll do two of these. Now we've got money up top. We are kind of burning through that, of course. This is the power we're using, as odd as this is set up. 5,230 power. We're generating none of it ourselves, so we have to actually pay for that. That's coming out of our pockets. But we can research, and I'll get into that in a little bit, and get our own power going. But let's keep this up. So we're going to go ahead and route these guys through to paint. Then we need to fit the engine. That's 55 seconds. Do I want to do the engine fitting 2 of those? Probably. I think we will. Let's just go ahead and do 2 of these. Why not? Yeah, I think that'll work. And then we've got electronics. Now this is only 4 seconds. This is actually a pretty quick one. Let's do this one here. Electronics. Hold on a second. Did I do this right? Oh no! I didn't mean to kill that. So we have fit engine. I need to put another one of those back down. My bad. So we do that. Fit engine. I think I jumped one. Fit accessories. Yeah, I didn't do the accessories one. That one is 27 seconds. It's not too bad. I think we can get away with just doing one of these for now. And I will just back that up there. So you can see we've got one chassis, then I'm splitting down these guys that take a while, and then out the other side where things start to pick up speed a little bit, I'll just focus on one. We are burning through money pretty quickly, so let's see, this one was the accessories. We need electronics, we'll put that right after it. We need quality check. Let's do that here. And then we want the export. If I stick that here, there you go. That'll spit out that side. Now, here's the resources. We've got to feed, we're feeding 1, and then we've got 2 and 3, and that leaves 5. So, let's see. How do we want to do this? Let's grab our conveyor. And we can drag over the top of things, right? So we're just going to go right over the top here. I think that's fine. Okay, so that connects these up. We can actually start this. Oh, did I miss the route on that one? I guess I did. Right there, not connected. Okay, so I'm gonna pause it now. I just wanted to make sure that was set. So the problem is, the thing you're gonna have to consider when you're doing this is all the goods have to flow down this line. So if you've got these things way out at the end, they, you know, have a much longer route to run. They also have to wait for all the other resources that are constantly being used. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. Now what I could do, again, is I can actually bring in resources from here as well. We can do an import. And then maybe we do all of these from this line. We know that this is pretty quick, and with these ones so much further down the line, I think I may do that. What we could do is feed one of these, like this guy, from this line or something, and then do these 4 from the other line. Of course, I can also bring in from all the way on the other side and run a really long line down. That's an option. But it's also one of those things you can just kind of watch and see how it goes and then make adjustments later. That's a big part of this game, is to basically get rid of the inefficiencies. As they actually describe it, they say to win in production line, you need to be able to seek out and fix inefficiencies in a vast production line that snakes with carefully planned precision around a colossal car factory. So it's just a big part of the game, is trying to figure out where you can make things more efficient. And of course, in order to do that, you've got to do a lot of experimenting. So let's see. Try to connect this up there. Okay, and then we've got to get the rest of this conveyor down. Drag this around. Something like that. Through to here. Now you can't go all the way through. That's why I'm not doing that, in case you're wondering. Kind of gets a little weird when you try to do that. And out the door. So that should do it. If we go ahead and start this up, we're going to get resources really moving in here, feeding all of these things, and should be able to get this process started here. And there goes our first chassis here. We got the chassis assembly. So let's spit this guy out. I think he'll probably go left. Yep. I think it's shortest path, really. So that's going to hit this line. We can actually connect here and see that a lot of the time was waiting for a vehicle, but you can see this adjusts on the fly. Each one of these bars gets filled up when the full bar goes, so that'll give you an idea of how the progress is going here. And that's something that you can easily, click on these. It's really nice. You can just click and see this information that's pulled up. Obviously, nothing's come this far down here, so it's been waiting for resources in a vehicle. And as things go through the line again, we're going to be looking for areas that we can improve things. Okay, so I sped up the clock a bit. I'm back down to normal right now, but I sped it up a little bit to kind of move things through the process. I had actually missed a resource here just as the car had come into paint. I had missed getting the resources in there, so I got that squared away pretty quickly, and things have moved along. We got the green cards coming through here. Just went through accessories, is about to come into electronics. Once it goes through quality check, it's going to be ready to export. And at that point, we're going to be asked to determine a price on the car. There's a base price, and we could choose a premium or a discount to add to it. I'm not entirely sure what effect that has on the sales of the car. I don't know if I ramp the price way up, if it means it won't be sold or not. But what's interesting is it asks you, to save the design once you do that. And that, to me, leads me to believe that you can actually create different kinds of cars. Right now, we really don't have many options, but I would imagine you can do some high-end cars, some low-end cars, things like that, save out those, and then you can kind of determine the output, of your factory. So one had already come through here, and I just chose to save it with, I think I brought the price up by like 10%. So that goes through, and when those go through, you actually will see the price kind of come into your account. It bumps your account up. So if you really speed this up and you're getting them going, you'll notice in my experiment that I did that, it actually goes up pretty well. But it could definitely be better, that's for sure. I definitely don't have a very efficient setup. In fact, let's take a look at some things here. Let's just start here at the beginning. Now, this guy is just running pretty well. He's right up front and gains all the resources, so that one's going to be pretty straightforward. If we look at the body fit, this one's running well, 91% with a 8 or 9% weighting on resources. I assume the one next to it, that's the same thing, is going to be worse. No, it's actually not bad. I actually thought because it was slightly farther down the resource line, that would be problematic. I wonder how that is with the paint. 99 to 1. Paint is doing pretty good. And this guy, it's the same. Now, they do have, I think there's like a little bit of backup. They weren't necessarily waiting too much. These guys come in and get filled in there. They hang in here enough that cars can start to back up. I mean, we're not really seeing that too crazy right now, but let me click on one of these again. Yeah, it's just running. It's just, by the time it's ready for the next car, I guess. Is this going to not be the case? Watch it kick a car out here. That one goes out. Okay. And then the next one comes in. So it's a very small weight. You see it dropped to about 80%, 78, and then that gets adjusted. So it's going to work through the next car. It doesn't have that long a wait. That's why that's not too bad. Waiting for a vehicle is pretty big on the engine part here. Let's see this guy. The other guy's running okay though. So again, you kind of walk through the process here. You get to watch how everything's moving around. You could relay out these resources. I already don't like the way I'm doing this. Like a lot of these games, you're constantly putting stuff down and saying, "Oh, this is terrible. I would do it way better if I did it over again." So I did a little experiment here. I haven't had it running very long, but I thought I'd show you. I basically brought a line in all the way from the top, and it is feeding these kind of top three here. This guy and these two. The middle one here is just feeding these guys here, and then the bottom guy is feeding these parts. Now, obviously, this is a very long run to go, but I thought I would try that for a little bit. I had some resource issues out here. It looks like it may have resolved them out here. We're still getting a little bit of a hang up for resources over here, and obviously we're getting the chassis are pretty well backed up. So there's a whole lot more we could be doing here. Now, obviously we could throw out another fit body station, but these are very expensive. A couple $100,000, I think, to put down. So we don't even have the money to do that right now. One thing to note too is that if you get to 0, I'm pretty sure it's what I hit. I didn't pay that close attention to it, but I know I was getting down to a couple thousand. I think I bought a couple things, but as soon as I placed them down, the game stopped and it said, "You're bankrupt and clear your desk." So keep that in mind. You don't get to draw into the negatives or anything, as I have become used to in games like OpenTTD that we've been playing recently, where you're just kind of always in the negatives, and that's not always a bad thing. Well, before I bleed out all my money, let me grab the research office and kind of show you a bit about that one. It seems as though you can just kind of put this anywhere. I'm actually going to drop this right here. And now that we've got that, we can actually show all research. So there's a lot of different things we can begin researching, and then obviously these are prerequisites to some of the ones farther down the line. So if I kind of scroll down here, you can see we've got administration, factory expansion, power production. So we can go ahead and select that. It takes 600 points, so we can begin researching. Now it seems like, oh, we don't have 600, we can't do this. That's not really the way it works. You actually hit research and it will slowly start filling, and when it hits 600, then you're good. So we can go ahead and close this out. If I then click on the station here, you can see the power production is the thing that's currently being researched, and this is the progress. This bar will slowly fill. It just budged a tiny bit, so we're at 0.5%. So anyway, I have a feeling that's something you might want to get started right away because it's kind of a slower process, but that's going to be what allows you to really get in and start working on all kinds of different ways of specializing. So one of the things it talks about in the game is how when you have a production line, you want to build cars. The production process gets broken down into smaller and smaller and smaller parts. And right now it's kind of breaks the car down into these 5 or 6 steps. But eventually each one of those can have all kinds of different elements to it as well, where you're making very specific parts yourself instead of bringing them in. So the research is going to be the way that you get there, essentially. Well, I think that'll just about wrap it up. I wanted to keep this very brief, just bring you guys in here and show you the basics, and that's really all the game has right now. So I'm kind of just recommending, I guess, that maybe you keep an eye on it and see how it progresses. I'm going to be following it as updates come out. I may do another video or two if there are kind of some cool new features that come in. But anyway, I think, as I mentioned, for now we're going to leave it at that. I do want to thank you guys for watching. As always, I appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time.